better daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What's up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Thursday. It is Word Thursday. And on More Than Word Thursday, what we are doing is going through meditations on particular words. And the past few weeks, I've been sharing with you some thoughts on the words that describe personality. Personality psychology is the study of understanding what makes us humans tick on a biological level and makes us different. And the thing about personality psychology is that there's no one best personality. It's that each of us have a role to play or a role to fill in our human groups based on our personalities. And so we've talked about extroversion, and we've talked about agreeableness, and we've talked about openness to experience, and we've talked about conscientiousness. And the last word of the Big Five personality model is neuroticism. Neuroticism is a very, very interesting personality dimension. If there's any personality dimension that gets probably the most negative rap, it's the element of neuroticism. It's the trait of neuroticism. Now, neuroticism is really interesting because those who rate high on neuroticism, basically it means that they're a little more emotionally raw, more prone to negative emotionality than those who are low in neuroticism. And that might sound all around bad. Like it would just be bad to be a person who's high in neuroticism. Don't get me wrong, those of you who are high in neuroticism know it takes very special people in your life to love you well. Because you're a little high strung. But it has some very adaptive things that I want to talk about. So in my household, my wife is actually extremely low in neuroticism. On the percentiles, remember, a percentile isn't like a level of neuroticism. It's compared to the rest of the population. If you stuck 100 people in a room, you would be here among the 100 people in a room. So my wife is a 9, and she's a 9th percentile in neuroticism. And so if there are 100 people in a room, and you put her in a room with 100 people, then she's actually very low in neuroticism comparatively. There might be 8 less neurotic people in the room than she is. And what that means is she's very emotionally stable. She's not prone to negative emotionality. So what that looks like for somebody who's low in neuroticism is it takes a lot to rattle her cages, right? It takes a lot of difficulty, a lot of frustration, a lot of pain, whatever it is, before all of a sudden she is anxious, angry, fearful, scared. Like it takes a lot before she's shaken there. And we actually did this personality assessment prior to her having children. I imagine it has gone up a little bit, and I'll explain why in a second, since having kids. But either way, she's relatively low in neuroticism. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle as far as neuroticism is concerned. I'm in the 49th percentile, I want to say. So if you stick me in a room with 100 people, I would be less neurotic than about 50 of them. And what that means is my cages get a little easier rattled than my wife's in terms of negative emotionality. I'm more prone to get angry faster. I might be more prone to respond to a situation fearfully or intensely negative. Anger is probably more my default negative emotion than fear or sadness, right? Have you heard of fight, flight, or freeze? Fight, flight, or freeze? That's the response to intense negative emotion, right? So mine is more like I'll put up my dukes and get combative more than flighty or freezy. So anyway, that said, I'm talking in joking terms here, but neuroticism is an extremely important trait. So imagine a world where there was no anxiety, no fear, no anger, right? And I don't mean like a kumbaya utopia. Let's just say that. Let's say you woke up tomorrow and nobody got angry about anything. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if nobody got angry about anything? No, it wouldn't be great. Here's the thing. So I'm working with this client right now, and He had come to Jesus with his doctor this week. He had a really hard time. He got, he had his reasons. COVID infection, influenza, a bunch of stuff hit him in the face over the past few months. And he has gotten, let's say, less than disciplined about his personal exercise regimen, about his personal nutrition, about his personal sleep. His self-care has really taken a beating. And he went to the doctor, and he got a pretty nasty report. And I said, so how's that feel? How does it feel to know that over the past few months, some things have gotten beat up? And he's like, it makes me so angry. I'm like, what do you want to do with that anger? I want to change things. I want to change the ship. I want to move things forward. Yes, you do. And that's really interesting because you think anger is a negative thing. But anger can be a very, very, very powerful energy to change. It really can. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been pissed off enough to do something positive? I have. I know that I have to get angry about something before I will make intense changes in a positive direction. And negative emotions are like that. Negative emotion is not necessarily a bad thing. Negative emotionality will key in on something that's like, no. This needs to change. This really matters. This can't go on like this. And people who are high in negative emotionality, they're really, really good at picking up on those things. There's some trade-offs there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, that said, like it really matters. So in my relationship with my wife, me being a little higher in neuroticism, I'll pick up on things that need to change way before she will. And, you can call me bullheaded, you can call me stubborn, whatever you need to call me, but my wife would tell you that I'm the one who shakes us out of complacency in our lives. So if we're repeatedly dealing with an issue with our children, for instance, or repeatedly dealing with an issue in our marriage, or there's a decision that has to be made in the wider world, right? I'm the one who brings it to the table and says, no, we have to stop everything we're doing. We have to deal with this. We have to deal with this thing right here, because this thing right here is kicking our butt and we need to change it. And, well, that's the positive aspect of negative emotionality, right? Because there's a trade-off. If you are high in neuroticism, I'm higher than my wife, but if you're high in neuroticism, you're on the high end of the spectrum. That's called volatility and withdrawal. If you're high in neuroticism, the negative emotionality can also go sideways really quick, right? Because the positive aspect of neuroticism is that neurotic individuals, people who are higher in neuroticism, have a much easier time identifying problems. They respond emotionally to problems, and that's good because it's almost like, the story of Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Now it turns out that Chicken Little is not correct. Chicken Little is being neurotic about something that's not real, right? But neurotic individuals are really good at identifying the ways that things could go wrong. And that's important. That's extremely important, because if there was no neuroticism in the world, then we'd all be walking around hunky-dory and complacent until something slapped us in the face so hard that maybe it ended us. Maybe it ended our family. Maybe it became a bigger issue than it needed to be. Seatbelts were invented by a neurotic individual. Seatbelts are a neurotic individual's invention. And it turns out that a very, very simple seatbelt saves a lot of lives. It doesn't make everything perfect, but it says, hey, I hope you don't get in a car wreck today, but if you do, this will keep you from flying through your windshield and busting your face and ripping your spine to shreds, right? Might not fix everything, but it'll help. That's seatbelts. Child seatbelts are the same thing, right? So thank goodness for neurotic individuals, that they can look into the future and imagine the worst case scenario. Now, this can get out of control really quickly, though, because if you're a highly neurotic individual, if you're high in neuroticism, then you are prone to such negative emotion that it's very, very easy to wear yourself out. Anxiety is a thing. It will wear you out. If you're high in a negative emotionality, that means that you're likely to experience negative emotions even when there's nothing going wrong in the world around you in this moment, because you can imagine terrible scenarios everywhere, and your emotional response to those things is really intense. You can get really, really angry, or really, really scared, or really, really sad, or really, really anxious. You can get that way very quickly to things that other people be like, what are you so tripped out about? Right? Test anxiety might be one of those things. I'm just going to take a test, but whoa, this thing's really bothering me. Public speaking is a good example. Those who are high in neuroticism have a hard time with public speaking, because it's kind of scary to have everybody's eyes turned on you, and you get all hot and bothered inside, and your heart starts racing. That is a good indication of high neuroticism. And so what I would say to you, if you're high in neuroticism, is it's so important to learn the utility of your negative emotions, and to learn that those emotions don't have to control you. That's the hard line with those who are high in neuroticism, because those who are low in neuroticism, I mean, yeah, they're super chill and very emotionally stable, but they need us high neurotic people. I'm not high, I'm moderate, but they need us, people who are higher neuroticism than they are, to point out potential issues. There are individuals in my life who are very mature individuals with high neuroticism, and I appreciate those individuals so much, because they can see problems way before I see them. They can see potential problems way before I see them. And when we speak, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you. That will help me in the future. That will help me to be aware that that might be an issue. But they're mature in their high neuroticism. That's the thing, right? Because if you're high in neuroticism, it's very easy for you to blow things out of proportion in the relationships in your life. I have a couple family members that I love very dearly, but they're high in volatility, which is an aspect of neuroticism, which means this individual, when they reach their breaking point, they just kind of blow up, and they say things they don't mean. You know, they're overly aggressive and rough with their emotions, and you know, they're kind of embarrassed by it. And so this thing will happen, and then they just won't talk about it for like a year and act like nothing ever happened, because they don't even know what to say. Sorry for being me, right? That's really hard. And so it's hard if you're an individual high in neuroticism. It's very difficult to use that in a positive way. And so what I'd say to you is it's so important that you give yourself the opportunity to remove yourself from emotionally charged situations. Let the temperature come down a little bit before getting the opportunity to address the issue. Don't send the email right away. Write it. Don't send it. Don't send the tweet right away. Write it. Don't send it. Don't finish the phone conversation. Look, this is a really hard conversation to me, and I need to let you go so I can cool off for a second. Bye. Like, you know, stop yourself before your negative emotionality, which can be a very positive and powerful force, before that gets you into trouble with the people you really care about, right? And then the other thing I would say is have a third party. When you're dealing with people and you have a high negative emotionality, having a third party can really help you filter through some of the, like, if you have an individual you can talk to, a good friend, let's say, who isn't attached to the situation, that you can kind of, we call it venting, that you can kind of vent to before you have to deal with the person that you're upset with or scared of or angry at or whatever. That really helps, because it takes the edge off that emotionality. That said, don't take that friend's listening as acquiescence to all of your feelings. So I've said a lot of things here, but one of the things that's worth addressing here, though, is that women are naturally higher in neuroticism than men are. I'm not making this up. This is laboratory tested. Women tend, and it's not huge, but it's about one standard deviation. Women in general, if you take a room full of 100 people and you rate their neuroticism, the women will be a little higher than the men on average. That does not mean there aren't highly neurotic men in the world, and that does not mean there are highly emotionally stable women in the world. It just means there's a slight difference in general. Now, that said, there's an important reason for that, and that's because the woman's nervous system seems to be adapted to the mother-infant dyad. That is to say that women, biologically speaking, they find themselves in a vulnerable position when, you know, holding a baby or you know, watching out for toddlers and that sort of thing. And they have to imagine the worst case scenario to keep the kids safe and to take care of small children. And that is a good and important thing. And so what really stinks for a woman sometimes is that she might start out, relatively low in neuroticism or even moderate, but after having children, all of those dials get turned up. Like, whoa, I'm ready for everything. The sky might always be falling. and I wanted to say to you, thank you. Thank you for being the one who can point out where things might go wrong in the future. So to my individuals who are low in neuroticism, keep being low in neuroticism and emotionally stable. Make sure you lend an ear to those who need to vent a little bit and to pay attention. They can really help you identify problems that might crop up in the future and save everybody a whole lot of heartache and grief. And those of us who are high in neuroticism, what I would say is thank you for being that person and for managing that load. Take good care of yourself. Get enough rest. Make sure you create the opportunity for stress management in your life through exercise and conversations with friends and getting enough sleep. And also my best to you in managing your personal relationships, because it's very, very difficult to be the alarm sounder all the time. It's hard. It feels heavy, and it's difficult sometimes to navigate relationships well without feeling like, regretful in the way that you go about those things. So neuroticism is a very tough personality trait. It's not bad to be low. It's not bad to be high. What's positive and powerful about personality traits is God made you the way you are for a reason. And I pray that we're all good stewards of the gifts that we've been given and that we can use those things to further the kingdom and to be beneficial to each other. So, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Thank you guys for joining me over the past 5 weeks on Word Thursday as we dive into personality. Next week, we'll be done with our personality and moving on to some other awesome words. Until tomorrow, which is Flex Friday, you can call me Coach. We'll be going through an exercise to help you on your journey. It's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.